Hello, BookTube. This is Alan. I'm here with the tag. This is the random 20 questions tag. It was created by Steve Donoghue. And I'll leave a link to his channel down below in the show notes. And he had tagged everybody. I saw Bill Rutenberg's video of this earlier. And also I saw Jason by Ways of Bookland. And Todd's Bursting Bookcase, and Sean D. Steadfast has done this. So I think I'll give this a go. So here we go. Prompt number 1. What is the nearest place to you that's so famous everyone knows it, and how close is it? That would be the school book depository in downtown Dallas. It is 20 minutes away from where I live. And everybody knows it because that's the place where Lee Harvey Oswald got on the 6th floor of the school book depository and took a shot at President Kennedy motorcade as it went through Dallas on November 22nd, 1963. Excuse me. Everybody comes to Dallas, visits Dallas. That's the first place they go to. It is now a museum. It is open to the 6th floor is open to the public, and then on the 5th floor they have an exhibit, rotating exhibits, and they have on the lower floor they have a museum where you can buy, well, gift cards, trinkets, books, pins, campaign buttons. I think I have one over here close by. See if I do. Campaign buttons. No, that's my Nixon one. No, I don't. I thought I did. I got a couple of replicas. They're replicas from the 1960 campaign, President Kennedy's campaign for president. And that would be Senator Kennedy when he ran for president. And they have some good exhibits there on the 5th floor. One exhibit they had, and I went to it twice. I went to the school book depository twice. 6th floor museum they call it now. And they have in one exhibit they had campaign posters going all the way back to the very earliest times. They had one on Lincoln when he was running. They had one on Theodore Roosevelt. They had one on other presidents who came along when they were campaigning. And this very detailed campaign posters. You can see the evolution of campaign posters as it went along. And they also had not only the winning candidate, but also the opponent and who else ran. So you had Jesse Jackson show up, Shirley Chisholm campaign poster with their wild afro. And a lot of people don't know that yeah, she was the first African American woman to run for president, and the first African American to run for president. And you had a Nixon one. Just a moment. And you had Goldwater, LBJ, just every single one that ran. This is actually a T-shirt I bought. This is actually from the campaign poster. So you have a lot of figures on there that were, and you can see, the evolution of the campaign posters. The second time I went, I had my book from Stephen King, 11/22/63. So I wanted to take a picture of the book with the at the 6th floor museum, so and post it on Instagram, which I did. And they had an exhibit of magazine covers that President Kennedy appeared on. And that was pretty cool. And the one thing I remember take away from that is that they had I forgot what magazine it was. It was in 1999. It was American Heritage magazine. But there was a little article on the front cover by Sergei Khrushchev, who's the son of Nikita Khrushchev, who I actually met in person. And he gave a talk along with David Eisenhower at a small community college close by where I live. And the title of the article was, that the Soviet Union believed that the United States was the evil empire. And that's kind of like a play on words, because Reagan came out and said the Soviet Union was the evil empire. So that was very interesting. But yeah, the 6th floor museum, the school book depository, the Dealey Plaza, those areas around there where the motorcade went through is extremely popular. And it's about 20 minutes away from where I live. Problem number 2, have you ever had a paper cut so bad you thought you might die from it? And the answer, no. I've had paper cuts, but I didn't think I was die from it. I was watching Bill Rutenberg's channel where he talked about where he was in the grocery store and a bell wire, make a bell out of cardboard boxes, and I hated that. And you'll get a paper cut from a cardboard box, and those are extremely painful. I've had those, and they bleed profusely. And the reason why paper cuts hurt so much is that it's a straight cut. Unlike other cuts that you get, they're not straight. Paper cut is just a straight cut, and that's why it hurts so much. Problem number 3, have you ever found anything genuinely let me see if I can read this. Sorry. Have you ever found anything valuable in a book you bought? Actually, no. I found bookmarks. I found paper clippings. There's one paper clip that somebody put in a book about Nixon, one biography of Nixon, about, I think it was Haldeman or Ehrlichman, one of the two, that said that Nixon knew everything about Watergate. And the reason why he wasn't, and the reason why, and nobody asked him about it. Nobody asked him a question. No reporters asked him a question if Nixon was, and so you had that 18-minute gap that was always been famous, talked about, where everybody's trying to figure out what that 18-minute gap is, or what they talked about. And it was Haldeman, and was talking with Nixon. And then you have an 18-minute gap where they don't say a word. And Haldeman in this news clipping said, yeah, Nixon knew everything, what was going on, but nobody even asked him. Number 4, have you ever read and met and married Jacques Bouzon? Never heard of him. Problem number 5, aside from a pet, what's the specific non-human animal you see most often? Around here there's squirrels, a bunch of squirrels, a lot of squirrels. They just run right in front of your car, they don't care. And you have to slam on your brakes so hard. One time I went outside my apartment where I used to live and saw a squirrel asleep on the tree limb, so I went back into my apartment and went to sleep, excuse me. And over where I work, besides a turkey buzzard, which I took a picture of, put on Instagram, there are rabbits, butterflies, squirrels, and skunks. And also sometimes you'll see a red-tailed hawk flying around. And that's probably why I don't see very many rabbits. And one time I saw 5 skunks heading off into the grassy area, and I didn't have my camera, or I would have taken a selfie with them. Number 6, have you ever been inside a cathedral? If more than one, do you have a favorite? I have never been inside a cathedral. They're beautiful, and they actually kind of sort of based more or less on the temple in the Old Testament, Solomon's temple in the Old Testament. Number 7, have you ever been actually seeing or hearing things deliberately? I've seen people a lot of times that aren't there. For instance, my brother lived in my apartment. I saw my brother walking. I was on the 3rd floor of the apartment complex, and I was outside and saw my brother walking. But he never called me. He usually calls me, tells me he's come over. I saw him walking, so I went back into my apartment and waited for him. He never showed up. Sort of like a doppelganger. And he said he never was there. And sometimes I'll hear my name called, turn, and nobody's there. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Number 8. Do you have any blood relatives who read for pleasure? I do. My oldest brother used to read a lot. And it's before I started reading. He would read, there's a paperback book, Ian Fleming or some other author. And he would finish it real quick. And I never read. And then I started reading, then he stopped reading. And then I have an aunt in Fort Worth who owns the dry cleaners. And she taught business courses at TCU, Texas Christian University. And she reads business books. She reads books about business. And something related to what she's into, like teaching business courses, so she reads business books and biography, and she hated the Steve Jobs biography done by Walter Isaacson. She thought it was just ridiculous and tossed it away, and she reads a lot of biographies also, and generally towards business. Oftentimes she'll read something like the gentleman that was became Secretary of Defense under Obama, Gates, I think his name is, and reads him, and he's very conservative, and we talk about books all the time. Number 9, how many species have you smacked dab on the lips besides humans? None. I don't want to smack a cat or a dog because they clean themselves, and they're busy licking themselves down in their lower parts, and then you come around and kiss them. That's just gross. Number 10, do you ever listen to the radio? Any favorite program or person? When I was growing up, I listened to WRR 101.1, and they do a classical music station, which is owned by the city of Dallas. And there have been several attempts by the city of Dallas to get rid of it, to sell it off. And those attempts have been thwarted by the people who support the radio station. And they'll play the New York Philharmonic, they'll play the Metropolitan Opera, they'll play the Detroit Symphony, San Francisco Symphony, the Pittsburgh Symphony, the Symphony in Chicago. Sometimes they'll play the Boston Symphony, and they have a lot of contests, and they have a lot of outdoor activities where you can listen and to maybe a couple members of the Dallas Symphony Orchestra play, or some people from the Dallas Opera come perform. And in the last 20 years, there have been a lot of more symphonies in this area, to where you have a suburbs, excuse me, suburbs like Mesquite, Garland, and Richardson has their own symphonies now, and so they do those, play those. They have a gentleman who does Broadway musicals on the Saturday night, and you get to listen to excerpts and musicals, and he'll have a contest. And on Sunday nights, he'll have an organ concert, and talks about different organs, talk about different organ players throughout the history, and it's really good. And then they'll have then there is KVIL, which where I'm growing up, they play like top 40 hits during the 70s, 80s, and 90s that I listened to, and they play Elton John, Bette Midler, Stevie Wonder, Beach Boys, the Eagles, John Denver, Glenn Campbell, and there's a lot of others. So I have contests, and we have Ron Chapman in the morning, who actually quit when the radio station, because when he got to the 2000s, he couldn't understand what the music is anymore. It wasn't what he was listening to. And they have contests, concerts that they support. And one time they had a contest in which they told people to send $20. That was it. Just send $20 to this radio station. And they collected. They didn't say what it was for. Which is the weirdest part. Is that just send us $20. And they ended up with $7,000 in $20 bills. And so they just gave it to charity. But yeah, they were fun. They were kind of like and everybody listened to them. Everybody listened to the music and the personalities that they had on the radio station. Let me go on. Number 11. Have you ever been to the Eiffel Tower, the Leaning Tower, Pisa, or the Louvre? No, I've never been either one. And I'm surprised that Steve Donoghue didn't put anything that's famous in Venice, since he talks about it a lot. And so no, I've never been to Europe. What little thing did you miss the most that you lost during the pandemic? I missed the most during the pandemic is church. I was going to go to the Russian Orthodox Church, start going before the pandemic hit, and this is my Russian Orthodox prayer Bible. I started to go, but then the pandemic hit, and they started doing it online. And services online. We have virtual streams where people are not in church, they're in homes. And there have been a lot of protests about that. People asking why you are letting peaceful protesters walk down the streets, carrying chains, carrying baseball bats, carrying billy clubs, which I saw, wearing no mask, arm in arm, and sitting there looting buildings, burning down buildings, and then burning down churches. But of course, that's been going on for a long time. because churches have been attacked. Christianity has been attacked for centuries. And now the Black Lives Matter movement is a Marxist organization. If you don't believe me, just look at their website. And they want to get rid of religion. Because that's what Marxists do. They want to get rid of religion, so they started attacking churches. And because they believe it's colonialism. Well, that's been going on for centuries too. But they attack at churches. They assault statues of Jesus, Mary, the mother of Jesus. They hit firebomb some churches. One church was attacked in Boston, a Catholic church. So they attacked Christianity. But that's going on. You can read that in the Psalms, which I'll read right here. Why do the nations rage and the peoples plot a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves together, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed. Let us break their bonds in pieces and cast their cords from us. Who is he who sits in heaven shall laugh. The Lord shall hold them in derision. Then he shall speak to them in his wrath and distress them in his deep displeasure. Prompt number 14. Prompt number 13. What little thing do you miss the least that you lost due to the pandemic? Actually, our life continued as it is before the pandemic because I had to work. I was an essential worker. Like they put essential workers and non-essential workers, and they did the same thing in Nazi Germany. And so I was an essential worker, and I really didn't lose anything. Nothing was lost, really. Number 14. What is your relationship with small talk? Hate it like acid, love it, or merely competent. I'm the type of person that will start a conversation like with an Uber driver. The Uber driver picks me up, I get in the back seat, or wear a face mask, and it starts taking me to my destination. And I'll start a conversation with them. And usually it goes around books, and never about politics, never about the current situation, but we talk about random things. So, yeah, and I'm more of a one-on-one type of person rather than in a big group. I remember at church, I was before service starts, people go into the kitchen, drink coffee, and they start talking, and the adults will start talking about computers or their children or their wives, and I was a single person and I had no relationship with them at all, or not relationship but interest. And since I don't have any interest in what they are talking about, then I can't add anything to the conversation. Number 15. Have you ever won money on gambling? I don't gamble. And I think it's kind of weird when people, and now older people, walk in there and try to get on the win the lottery. And the odds are just way too much. Number 16. Do you ever give money or time to charities? No, I don't. There's too much overhead in charities where the money goes to. No. Number 17. Do you craft, knitting, crochet, woodworking, pottery throwing? None whatsoever. Uh, as I said before, I had a woodshop class in school, and I didn't care for it. I don't know how to read a tape measure, so I don't do any of that stuff. Number 18, do you talk to yourself when you're alone? Of course, I do. When I'm reading the prayer book, I usually talk to myself when I'm doing the morning devotionals, and I'm doing evening vesters, and then I talk to myself. Well, I actually go read along with the book, and verbally, and also I try to come up with a solution to a problem. I think of that. I go through it. I say, maybe this will work, maybe that would work. Sometimes I talk to myself in a different voice. Number 18. Were you a social queen bee in college? I went to 4 different colleges, and not including the community colleges, 2-year colleges that are here in the area. And the answer is no. I never was a social queen bee at all. Number 20, are you a sunrise or sunset person? This is the last question. And the answer is I have no idea. Well, thank you for watching BookTube. And thank you, Steve Donoghue, for tagging everybody. And, well, take care and have a good week.